It's safe to say that Sweet Baby Inc. has killed another game and potentially another developer. And we're talking about Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, A44 Games, and Kepler Interactive. This game has absolutely atrocious player numbers during its release day. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Also, hit that like button. Let's beat the YouTube algorithm and get more people to see this video. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. And the player numbers for this game are absolutely atrocious within its first 24 hours. I wanted to wait to do this. So we did get our first 24 hours of this game because usually you see a peak around 10 p.m. Eastern time. And you see here that is indeed around where that peak occurred on the SteamDB charts. But you see it happened at that peak was only 648 concurrent players. 648 concurrent players. That is worse than Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. At least Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League got to that 13,000 mark, meaning it actually sold some games. People were actually potentially interested in it, and then they saw how absolutely atrocious, terrible Sweet Baby Inc. influenced it was, and everyone else just immediately dropped it, and no one else decided to purchase it. Here, I mean, their peak is already at 648. This game is definitely dead on arrival, and A44 Games and Kepler Interactive might be dead as well, depending on whether or not they can manage the massive financial losses they are going to take from this game. If we scroll down here a little bit more, you can see it's also just 85th in top sellers on Steam, only has less than 21,000 followers, just 20,905. And then we're only seeing 76% of positive review scores. I think if you actually go to SteamDB, you'll see that it's like a 70% SteamDB score there. So not looking good. 105 positive reviews, 33 negative reviews. And then like people are not even watching this on Twitch either. Like we're looking at 18,173 people viewing on Twitch at its peak. Just absolutely terrible, terrible numbers here. And it's not surprising. It's not surprising that these numbers are absolutely awful. This game was indeed added to the Sweet Baby Inc. Detected Steam Curator list, which is the second largest curator on Steam and has over 415,000 followers on there. Probably even more than that now, given the fact I took this morning. People are still finding out about this. And in my opinion, I think that curator list does indeed act as a boycott list, so players and gamers can avoid all games that Sweet Baby Inc. has worked on that are available on Steam. I will say that the list has expanded to include other non-Sweet Baby Inc. games that push the same woke ideology and DEI agenda as Sweet Baby Inc. I think Cabrutus has added one game that he actually recommends that is non-woke, but for the most part, it acts as a boycott list for games to avoid. And this game did indeed have Sweet Baby Inc. working on it. This was confirmed by former A44 COO Audrey Tops Harjo in an interview with Edge Magazine. She said this for Flintlock. It was Tops Harjo who brought on Kim Belair. This is Edge Magazine reporting this. The Montreal-based narrative director who has advocated for better representation in stories as a means of bringing new and exciting ideas to gamers. Kim Belair, as I said, is the CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. So Sweet Baby Inc. definitely involved in this. Harjo then explained, she took the wonderful base layer Derek had, the world, and just elevated it. You know the difference when there's a person who's reflecting at you and it's true. There's a certain truth that resonates that can't be faked. I know some people won't notice, but the people who are attuned to that, they'll get it immediately. And then Harjo would also go on to reveal that the game's narrative is full of woke ideological propaganda. She says those gods are almost a symbol of colonialism. They are people who have taken over your agency. What do you do when you wrestle with that structure to find and gain your own identity? It's still a game. It's still gods and guns. But when you look at it from that lens, there's another layer on top of that. From Noor being a woman of color, it makes the character and the dynamic even more an echo of reality. So clearly buying into this or pushing this woke ideology of oppressor versus the oppressed. And apparently the fictional gods in the game are oppressing the character of Noor, and she is rebelling against them and saying no to quote unquote colonialism in the game. So super, super woke narrative there. And then we also had this report from Grums back when did he post this? Back in March. that the game was, quote, overrun by woke. And a former developer says, I used to work there. Flintlock was a good project with lots of potential. Then it was ruined. He went on to say this: before I go further, please note this is rumor from a source that seems very knowledgeable about the studio's inner workings. Take that as it is. If others would like to verify, please DM me anonymously. The CEO and COO at A44 are no longer with the company, but the damage seems to have been done. And then in another follow-up, he says that, did you know the protagonist of Flintlock used to be white? When COO and casting director Andrea Tops, or I think it's Audrea Tops Harjo, maybe Andrea, joined the studio, her first actions were to change the character to hire Sweet Baby Inc. and change the main character to a POC. This marked the beginnings of the problems with the game and studio. He then shared Audrea Tops Hart. Yeah, it is Audrea. I think it was just a typo there on his part. Audrea Tops Harjo is rumored to have used the company's funds and manpower to power her personal agenda and projects on initiatives not related to the game or even the studio itself. One such initiative that I found is Inclusion FX, a VFX company and advocacy company with shades of Sweet Baby Inc. Here's the bio from the company. She held this position at Flintlock at the same time she ran Inclusion FX. I will say that Kim Belair also did an interview with Inclusion FX where she admitted that she wanted to take over the video game industry with woke ideologues. And Grumps here added, I asked and confirmed, and his source told him this. Yeah, I witnessed our UI artists making art assets for its website as their sprint task. So it sounds like she was having people at A44 working on her pet woke project here, Inclusion FX. Grumps continued saying, aside from working with Sweet Baby Inc. and making changes to the game, Audrea also directed numerous changes in HR in her role as COO. In 2021, most developers were denied raises and evaluations were postponed for at least 6 months. Audrea told HR to inform anyone who complained or asked questions that the reason is because I said so. She also ordered the HR department to hide the salaries of the top execs of the company. HR tried to help, but were unable to get past this. The team was worried about the studio finances. Meanwhile, the new hires and changes to the game resulted in a project where these people know nothing about how a video game is made, according to Grumps' inside source here. After nearly 2 years of these DEI changes at A44, the damage had been done. At this point, the studio was purchased for $175 million, an unusually high sum for a small studio, by Kepler Interactive in September of 2021, a gaming collective fund whose founder also founded the Kowloon Knights Gaming Fund. It was at this point that Audrea, the COO, left the company. Perhaps this was the start of a cleanup of the game's troubles. And then he says the state of the game is unknown at this time, but it is believed to be in shambles after this 2-year round of DI changes. As we now know, A44 reached out to Cabrutus to refute SBI's involvement, saying they are no longer involved, and all their changes reversed. But when Cabrutus asked for proof, they refused to speak to him any further. So I think that's all the proof you need. They were pretty much, sounds like they were pretty much lying to them. And then we can go down here, and here is the senior operations and growth manager for Kepler Interactive, Lissy Kane, absolutely raging following the game being added to the Sweet Baby Inc. detected curator list, and Grumps sharing this inside information from his source. She posted this on X, absolutely fuming, vibrating off the effing plane of reality. This piss weak pseudo journalism that far right Gamergate are taking is so vile. Incredible to see in real time and closer to home how wrong Grumps is and how damaging he and his weird troop are. So she's absolutely pissed that the truth was being exposed and just completely trying to slander or defame Mark Kern and Grumps. I always get the slander and libel mixed up, but I think defame covers both of them, right? So definitely trying to defame Grumps and individuals opposing woke ideology here, far right, Gamergate, etc. But I think the last laugh goes to Grumps, goes to Cabrutus, because if we go back up here, I mean, just look at these numbers again. 648 peak concurrent within the game's first 24 hours after launch. Absolutely abysmal. Remember, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League had over 13,000. That also was a Sweet Baby Inc. game, and Warner Brothers Discovery had to take a $200 million impairment charge on the game. We don't know what the costs were for Flintlock, The Siege of Dawn, but one has to think that this game is going to lose tens of millions, if not potentially $100 million. We shall see. We will be following this, but This is absolutely atrocious. Player base numbers here for this game, and it just is another data point. Another data point that if you work with Sweet Baby Inc., if you push this stuff, your games are going to fail. Players are not going to purchase them. They are not interested in the woke ideology that Sweet Baby Inc. is trying to push. But those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys make. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.